emerps, which are prime numbers that are anagrams of which are what's that forward and backwards of each other?
I think that's an anagram, isn't it?
No,
Yeah.
an anagram is switching. No, an anagram is being able to switch the letters around for something else.
Oh.
It's I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. That number will come into play in just a second. We're not going to talk a whole lot about it again. The 2013 also saw a Linux-based OS only for Cicada. That was how they launched it. They made use of Twitter, which was almost literally impossible to solve. One guy did it and shared it. The community as a whole was pretty stumped by all of the Twitter stuff for like an entire day. Which, if you guys have learned anything about 3301, being stuck on one clue for an entire day is like basically death. In the puzzle solving. The puzzles were getting more and more complicated because, the 2012 puzzles had become popular and people had been talking about the unsolved mystery qualities of it. So once this 2013 puzzle started, there were so many more followers, or almost solvers, sort of. So the puzzles were getting really, really complicated, and eventually the solvers revealed 2 files within the original Linux OS that I just totally backhanded mentioned 2 seconds ago that were called Wisdom and Folly. Wisdom was exactly the same as Folly, except for that it didn't have a file type, which is kind of weird.
Wait, so Wisdom was Wisdom, I'm just making this up again, as I do with everything.
Sure.
Wisdom.txt.
No, it was just Wisdom.
And then Folly.
And Folly was like folly.txt.
Oh, okay, I had it backwards. Okay, alright, I got it. I was just making sure, so basically you had to just randomly start assigning file type extensions to it?
Mm-hmm. And both of those were the files that contained the real world locations of the QR codes, one of which was in Portland, Oregon. And actually, this is interesting to me. I'm sorry, it's a weird little tangent. I plugged the longitude and latitude into Google Maps to see where it was, street viewed it, and it actually leads to a website hosting storefront on Powell Boulevard in Portland, in Southeast Portland, that is connected to a coffee house that I've been to recently and still, for some reason, has an internet cafe component to it. Like, it has an old desktop computer attached to an Ethernet cable.
True internet cafe, paid by the minute, surf the net.
Which is weird.
Did you check out the telephone pole out in front?
No, but I just think that I didn't check out any of the other ones. It seems to mostly be just random telephone poles and bus stops and stuff. For whatever reason, it's very odd to me that would be the place that they would pick to put the one in Portland. But
well, I'm sure that all of their locations were seemingly random to anybody that wasn't in the know.
Fair, totally fair. Again, the QR codes led to a tour.onion site, which led to the creation of emails for the solvers, which there were links sent to them by puzzles. Apparently, that led to, there was a little bit of a leaker in this one as well. It led to a 19-question questionnaire that started out as multiple choice questions with a set of kind of weird answers that were true, false, indeterminate, what will be, no answer, both, sort of stuff. There were also some questions that were fill in your own answer. The quiz doesn't really matter. I mean, it probably does matter. Obviously, it matters for the solvers. The interesting bit for us is that the site that the quiz was hosted on saved 2 cookies to each solver's computer, which were 167 equals an ASCII code, and 761 equals an ASCII code. You guys remember those numbers?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So again, we have that moment where we're just like,
Again, it's that elegance of tying it back into the beginning.
Exactly.
So, I mean, really, I get this feeling that what they're doing is that they're trying to get people who, I think I mentioned this before, it's the very linear and the not so linear. And they're trying to weed out the people who are thinking very linear and leaving the I figured this part out behind and not really exploring everything in that clue before they go on to the next bit. It's like those old, like Legend of Zelda and stuff used to do that. I know this is weird, but you'd be playing the original Legend of Zelda and you'd be going through an area and you'd see this thing and you'd think, wow, that was really weird. I can't get to it. Oh well, and you'd go along, and then a couple of levels later, you'd get the bombs, and you had to come back with the bomb to get into. I mean, it's just like this weird looping and stopping people from just rushing forward instead of exploring the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like, I guess for me, it would be kind of like the Portal 2 train where you can go through and like just do all the missions, but you miss this entire like side story if you like don't explore all the areas. And I think that it's pretty significant that like there are these little like Easter eggs almost hidden throughout. It also speaks of something that's very well planned. It's not like, they just decide, we'll do it again maybe, and then we'll like figure it out from there. It's so elegantly planned. So everything has a purpose and a meaning.
Yeah. So to get back to these strings of so-called ASCII code, were those in plain text? Were they unencrypted or were they encrypted?
I don't know. They were cookies. I don't know.
They were just.
I don't think you can encrypt a cookie.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I mean is, if it's a string of ASCII code, then that represents letters and numbers. Mm-hmm. Correct. And so, did anybody, decipher the ASCII to figure out if there was a message there?
No, because there were instructions. I mean, it just kind of continued to go on. I don't think that anybody tried to decode it, or if they did, they didn't find anything, is my understanding of it, and I could be wrong. The solvers were, after that, asked to create a server of their very own with a lot of very specific protocols that include a stipulation that if a user returned a false something, that it had to elegantly sign off greeting or something like that. I mean, it's just, it was very complex. It was definitely targeted to weed out the lazy people and the followers and only get the solvers.
Got it.
That was it. I think it was like 2 weeks after that. They said that it had to be created by February 3rd, and then 2 weeks after February 3rd, the servers started to get pinged, and that was the last thing anybody heard.
Mm-hmm.
Or
that that's the last
public. That's the last that anybody who's around to still talk about it or is still talking about it heard.
How many servers were we talking about here?
A lot. I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows the exact number.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're all user created, and it's totally possible that somebody was figuring out these puzzles on their own and never said anything to anybody. Anyways, and then again in 2014, this time they launched their puzzles with Twitter. And as I said before, I'm not totally sure that it's been solved, and there's some argument as to whether or not it's a legitimate 3301 recruitment or not.
Somebody thinks 2014 is an imposter.
Yeah, launched on Twitter, slightly different. A lot of people are thinking impossible.
But the Twitter handle that was used to launch 2014 was also the same Twitter handle that was used very briefly in 2013. And that handle, if I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but after it did whatever it did in the beginning of 2013, just went silent and just no activity, and suddenly it came to life again.
That's true. I will say Twitter, not the most secure thing.
Yeah.
Also, there is some kind of speculation about 2013 maybe not being real. I think 2013 was probably real. I think that there's a lot of stuff that went into that 3301. It would have been too much work for any person to recreate. But 2014, it's hard to tell. But really, I mean, the other big question, or really the big question here, right, now that we've talked about all these puzzles, you're welcome, everybody, is who the heck is Cicada 3301?
Well,
I guess there's a couple things that are, like, interesting. The only one of which that I really want to talk about is the fact that cicada, the word cicada, is in itself a prime word.
What do you mean by that?
Well, so we were just talking about anagrams, right? A word that you can make using the letters of any other word.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't... Cicada is literally the only word that you can make with those letters.
In English.
In English. Yeah.
But they don't call themselves cicada, right? They just put up a picture of a cicada, or what appears to be a cicada.
Yep.
But which is not necessarily a cicada.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's still interesting. I think it's still interesting. They associate themselves with that animal, and in English it's cicada, and it's a prime word. As is 3301 is also a prime number, right? So there's a prime quality that is fairly interesting, including the fact that 3301 not only is a prime number, but if you add all of the digits together, it creates a prime number, which is 7. Interesting, I guess, a little bit. I don't know. I don't know enough about math to know if all prime numbers are, if you add them up, they return prime numbers or not. I don't think that they do.
Not necessarily, but cicada. But if you add them up, there's 6 letters in the word, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but you say they add up to 7?
No, 3301.
Oh, adds up to 7.
Adds
Okay,
up to
okay.
7.
I misunderstood.
Sorry, that was a bit confusing.
Yeah, and of course, the thing about primes is they are indivisible. In other words, they're individual. Because an individual is someone who cannot be divided down. So, in the sense, and then of course, these guys, their slogan is, of course, they're all about individualism, privacy, freedom, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And security.
So, you guys want to talk about the big bulk theories of? There's no. I was talking to Steve earlier, and we're just gonna say some stuff. People say, hey, it could be this person or it could be that person. There's literally no evidence to suggest any of it.
We're just going to say some stuff.
We are. That's literally how we're going to do theories is I'm just going to say, oh, it could be these people, but who knows? And then I'm going to say, or it could be these people, and who knows?
Yeah, but this is not... the whole idea of the intelligence services, and I know that's one of the theories that's out there, is it's been done in the past. Even back as far as World War II, I mean, the British intelligence was putting crossword puzzles and other things in the papers.
So the thing that's actually interesting
contests.
about that for me is that we'll just jump into this. The CIA, the NSA, M16,
MI6.
I'm sorry,
M16 is a rifle, MI6 is an intelligence
It
service.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
MI6, the KGB, people say, oh, it's recruitment for them. They model their tests for code breaking and ciphers on these codes and ciphers. Sure, government agencies can be shady. Absolutely. Could they be creating, oh my gosh, those are so good that we should publicly create some stuff that is a test like that. But they don't, their tests aren't as good as these. They're just not. So yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
It could be the government, but I don't think it is, and I also don't think, it's really far-reaching and kind of, it just doesn't seem right to me. I don't know. Steve's got a eyebrow-raised face on.
Okay. This is way off the beaten path, but that tends to be where I am with these kind of stories.
Sure.
I just hang out in the weeds. I'm looking at the list of possible whoever is making these. And the thing that I tie together, and bear with me because I'm going to kind of trample through this a little bit on you.
Okay.
All right, so we've talked about government agencies.
Yeah.
The other ones that I see here are Anonymous, Illuminati, Scientologists, which is hilarious.
Yeah, that seems unlikely.
Google,
Yeah.
terrorist organizations, and
Aliens.
aliens.
But how would aliens know how to use Twitter?
I don't know. It's crazy.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, that's just kind of a snapshot of the organization.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the list.
And I'm wondering if maybe we're not making a huge error is when we're trying to figure this out of presuming that this is made by a group. And what I mean by that is the puzzle is made by a group of very intelligent people working together, very clever people working together. as I look at some of these things, I mean, we talked about like the prime numbers are always tied in, and there's a lot of serious math and a lot of serious code
Are
stuff
you saying
that's
that
tied
it's
in
Optimus Prime?
No, but
Yeah.
I wish it was. No, what I'm looking at is I'm wondering if it isn't that a savant of some kind. In other words, let's just say that there is one person. We'll just call him the Sherlock Holmes of puzzles, that hyper-intelligent person who figures this out, and just for a year, because this is how folks that think that way, they just get so focused and they just work on these things. And then somebody else is helping them to publicize and to put it out and put it in all its locations. But it could be a single individual. Do I think it is? Not likely.
I think.
But
A single
it's
individual
possible.
with some helpers, I think, to,
Yeah,
to
that's
put
the-
things
that's
up.
Yeah,
the
it's
whole thing.
underlings. Let's just say that. So we've got the super smart guy, and then he's got his minions, and his minions are going about and putting up the signs in South Korea or Portland or wherever they are.
I guess
That one person is doing.
the question for that is like, to what end? You know, the reason that people do the whole group thing, that think it's a group, is that it's a recruitment, right? That's how people make sense of this, is that because it actually kind of publicly says, right, hey, we're recruiting a lot of really intelligent people, and you have to prove your intelligence to even like be granted primary access to us. And for one person who's a savant, like what's the end game there? Is it just because they want to like interact with other smart people? Well, there are societies for that, there are groups for that. There's no need to like do this and like have the underlings who somehow are like being totally silent, because as we've learned, there are ruiners everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Conspiracies
just-
of more than one, pretty much always get busted open.
But
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a certain level with things where people make extremely hard puzzles. Is they want to prove that they are so good at doing it that they make it so well that nobody can figure it
Yeah,
out.
but let's be honest,
and that's a bit
those
of
people-
pride on their side.
Those people are generally so prideful that like after that first year, they would have been like, "Hey guys, guess what? I did this.
Yeah,
What?
that's
Nobody
true.
figured it out. I did it." Or at least maybe the
Well,
fact that it has continued on.
I'm
guys-
not disagreeing with that.
You guys
but-
might. I think there's another way of looking at it too, which is the reverse, in that it's not a recruitment program. It's actually a resume. So let's suppose you want to catch the eye of the NSA and you want them to hire you. So, and there was one or two persons out there. Like there was one guy who actually was interviewed for a fairly lengthy article about his participation in this whole thing and how he solved all this stuff and everything. So,
Yeah,
if
he
you
was the
want
one
to,
who like went up to the break and was like, "Yeah, I totally solved it," but actually he didn't.
he actually created the whole thing and solved it, and didn't really solve it because he already knew the solutions to it. And this is a way of making himself appear to be incredibly uber smart to potential employers, and
You know,
not
the
just
thing
the
that's
NSA.
that's
or
really
anything like
interesting is that like when I read that article, I was just kind of like,
Yeah, you don't know that the guy actually did anything. I mean,
yeah, I
you
didn't.
don't really know.
wasn't super impressed with his
Yeah.
abilities, I guess.
No, I mean, as far as those leaked emails, you don't even know that those things were real.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no chance. You
True.
just don't know.
It could have been. Yeah, that's a great
But-
point. Could have been a red herring.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's why we say
Because you're all.
us experts in 301. And that's why there's that break, right? Is that you can say up until this point we can publicly verify via screenshots, via many anecdotal evidences. That was the wrong phrasing. It doesn't matter.
No, we don't care.
That these things
There's hard
happen.
proof.
There's hard proof of all those things. And at that point, once they switch over to the email stuff, you're just taking on faith that like that existed.
Well, yeah,
you
pretty
don't
much.
actually know.
But yeah, but anyway, yeah.
The emails may never have actually happened.
Well, exactly.
that's the other
They were
point.
typed up and then screen capped, and yeah, they never really.
Or not
realized
even.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
or it was just somebody who was like, oh, crap, like, I wasn't smart enough to get the email. Like, I better fake it and make people think that I leaked it. And that's why I got, like, shut out or whatever. You know, there is no way to know. There's no way to know that once you created your server, once you created your email.
Didn't the guy who, as you refer to him, the Ruiner...
The Ruiner!
Didn't the Ruiner suddenly start saying... Didn't he take down the stuff that he had put up and kind of backtrack a lot on what he did? Am I incorrect in remembering it that way?
I don't remember that.
I thought that there was something about he put some stuff up and then publicity came his way and suddenly he like sort of changed his tune.
He put stuff up and then there was a second set of emails that was sent out to a lot of people, apparently, that essentially it was, well, there was a change to that initial like website that said we're going to send out emails, that said we're going to send out a second round of emails to y'all as winners. Everything that we sent out no longer works. You have to do it again, essentially. But I don't remember him like backtracking.
I may have just inferred it in the way that I read it, but I thought that he kind of backtracked and changed his tune, almost like whoever was in contact with him got in contact with him saying, dude, you screwed up, and if you don't fix this, I'm going to break your leg.
Possible.
Kind of,
Yeah.
you know, leaned on him a little.
Yeah. Do you guys want to talk about some more of the people that we've already listed?
Oh,
Yeah, I trampled all over that, but...
The next group is Anonymous, and I think there's no need for Anonymous to do something like this.
No,
They recruit every day from just like super mundane hackers, like.
Well, and this is not the skill.
mundane.
This is not the skill set they're looking for.
Well, and it may be, but it doesn't matter because like they don't need to be recruiting like this. They have so many like fanboys just like crying to be a part of them that are talented enough. Probably
so
not to
many
be,
FBI
like,
agents
this-
too. I'm sure.
I'm sure of it,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean, I think that, like, that's the whole thing, is, like, Anonymous has enough popularity. They don't have to recruit like this. They can weed people out in the
Well, it doesn't fit their MO.
Yeah, that's
at all. It doesn't. I don't see them going this way.
Yeah, it doesn't fit their MO except to say that they kind of like that, like, the elegance sort of thing, and they do kind of, oftentimes, some of the quotes, the emails, some members of Anonymous talk that way. But also to say that Anonymous is like a single-minded hive mind is the most inaccurate thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It's not. This is so, like, pointed and driven that I just know.
Okay,
Just no. Okay.
no
Next.
Anonymous.
The Illuminati,
Who we don't even know really exists.
but they do, and they would have the resources for this.
But why?
Next, Scientology.
Yeah.
That's how much credit I'm gonna give the Illuminati.